Hi, we are Group C and we did our case study over Nintendo. So, a little bit about Nintendo's background. Nintendo was started in 1898 by a Japanese entrepreneur. During this time, Nintendo was launched as Nintendo Copa, and Nintendo Copa was a Hanafuda card creator. This is like flower cards, and on the right, you can see an example of these Hanafuda cards. At this time in Japan, playing cards were becoming exempt, and you couldn't buy them because of their association with gambling. But since Nintendo Copa was creating flower cards, they were actually exempt from this ban. So this created initial success for the company. It wasn't until the 1960s, under the new leadership of Yamauchi's great grandson, that Nintendo started to explore into different products after they became a public company. So, according to Business Insider, this was things like taxi services, ramen noodles, short-term love hotels, and most notably video games. So, given our age, we probably had a first glimpse at Nintendo with the Game Boy. So, the Game Boy was one of their first successful handheld devices. And this device, when it was launched in 1989, would have cost around $90. Or in today's money, with inflation, that would be around $170. This is very comparable to the Nintendo Switch, which is popular today. In comparing these, the Switch has been sold 61 million times as of today, and the Game Boy was sold 81 million times. So both extremely successful devices for Nintendo. Given the current state of the nation and the world, and given that we have an ongoing pandemic, this has really helped Nintendo's company out. In 2019, the company reported a $10.91 billion revenue, and in 2020, they are reporting a $12.12 billion revenue, so an increase of $2 billion, which is roughly $2 billion, which is really awesome for the company. The gaming industry is actually larger than the music industry here in the US. In 2017, the gaming industry was projected at a revenue of $78.61 billion, and by the end of 2020, the gaming industry will be projected to be worth over $90 billion. So again, this is just seeing effects of our climate and the pandemic, how there are a lot of people at home, more time to play video games, or maybe some parents are looking to distract their children with video games since they are spending more time together.
Today, I'm going to be talking about the key issues in Nintendo and what they've faced the past couple years, currently as well. So, Nintendo has struggled historically to keep up with PlayStation and Xbox in terms of popularity and revenue as well. This year's been a different story, however, because due to COVID-19, people locked in their homes, everyone started to play video games a little more, order video games more, and all three companies thrived during the pandemic. But this year, the revenue numbers, Sony, which is PlayStation, was at 20.3 billion. Nintendo was at 11.1 billion, and Microsoft was at 11 billion, which is Xbox. So as you can see, Nintendo's hanging in there with both those companies as of right now. But people assume and can tell that that's going to change soon because Sony has the PlayStation 5 that's coming out very soon, and Xbox has the Xbox Series X that's coming out soon. So those are both very popular gaming systems, and they only come out every couple years. And people who are dedicated fans buy those immediately, and the revenue is going to go way up for both of those companies. So Nintendo's problem is going to be sort of staying with them and responding as well to their competitors, because as a company, you really need to pay attention to your competitors. Another thing is going to be responding post-COVID because, like I said, the numbers are all up due to COVID-19 and quarantine and all that. But I think Nintendo should think about a bigger system, like they had the Wii about 10 years ago, and that really did well. They did a great job with that. Lots of kids ages like 8 to 14 really bought the Wii. It was like more popular than both PlayStation and Xbox's systems. But they're sort of lagging behind. As you can see, the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox are coming out. So I think they should look to expand their gaming horizons in that term. Um, the marketing of the Xbox and the PS5 has been pretty strong as well, and people don't really see Nintendo's marketing. Some of that has to do with the fact that it's for younger kids, so it's probably not directed at my uh, age market, but that's where I think they could do good things in having a new system. But the next couple of months will definitely be interesting to see how the revenue and the stock changes. Nintendo stock has been on the decrease the past couple of weeks. So again, that's just going to be sustained. It's going to be hard for them to sustain, but hopefully within the next couple of months, they can continue to get better. And then we have target markets for Nintendo. Like I said, the stated target market for Nintendo online says ages 15 to 30, but that's not really what it seems like it is. It seems like they direct at younger kids. That's the general consensus. I think they need to market older, and like the Xbox and the PlayStation, those are directed at older kids, teens, and just an older general market than Nintendo. So if Nintendo wants to compete with these guys, they could attempt to have a new console and just hang in with them. Because if they market older and diversify, there's a large chance that they'll reel in new customers. And that's their best chance at a competitive advantage over their competitors. Also, they have a changing market, but Nintendo can improve their general marketing. And by this, I'm mostly focusing on Twitter. PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo are all active on Twitter. Um, PlayStation has 20 million followers, Xbox has 14.6, and Nintendo has 10. But I'm not really focusing on followers. But PlayStation and Xbox do a good job communicating with their fans on Twitter and releasing trailers to get people excited. That's something I think Nintendo could do, but they really don't. It's more like of a general support type of Twitter, and trailers create hype, which is easily spread through social media. To be consistent, they can release more games and keep fans updated on ones that don't come out for a while. So, like, while say those two systems are coming out for the other companies, maybe instead of another idea they could do instead of creating an entire new system is just keep their fans updated with more games and sort of bug fixes, not just that, but uh, general game like releases. They could have new toys, especially if they're going for younger kids. And all of that is just sort of adaptation to the new next couple of months, which is a big part of being a company. You need to innovate consistently. But these are the main three key issues with Nintendo, and they've done a great job over quarantine in the past couple of months, but this is what they should do to stick with it.
So, in order to help fix these key issues, we came up with alternative courses of actions that Nintendo can take. They can increase their marketing through social media platforms and working with gaming influencers. They can create a new, more affordable gaming device, and they can also continue to create more innovative games such as the Mario Kart Live game that came out earlier this month. As we mentioned before, one of their key issues is keeping up with their competitors like PlayStation and Xbox. And because the new PlayStation 5 is coming out soon, it's really important for them to keep their place in the market. And one way that they can do this is by being more active on social media. They can do this by interacting with followers, keeping them in the know about new products, and things like that on Twitter and Instagram. Another thing they can do is promote their online events more heavily. So in the past, Nintendo has hosted large in-person events in order to create more hype about a new product or just keep their consumers more involved. But because of COVID-19, they've had to move these online. So one that's coming up is the Super Smash Bros. Online Open. And so Nintendo Switch users can go online, register for this event, and play in the tournament and could possibly win a prize. So it can be really exciting and enticing for consumers to be involved in. So Nintendo should promote this more heavily online through social media or billboard advertisements or even commercials on children's TV channels. And another thing they can do to increase their marketing is collaborate with more gaming influencers. This can help reach a larger audience because if someone follows a gaming influencer that is promoting a Nintendo product, they might be more inclined to buy the product because they like and trust that person that's promoting it. Another alternative course of action is creating a new gaming device. So right now they currently sell the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite. The Switch is about $300 and the Switch Lite is about $200. And the main difference between these is that the Nintendo Switch can be hooked up to a TV and played with the gaming consoles, or you can just play it in the handheld version. But the Nintendo Switch Lite is only a handheld version and it's targeted towards more gamers on the go. And although there's a lot of people that are willing to pay the prices for these, I think there's also a decent amount of people that would want to buy a Nintendo product, but it's out of their price range. So creating a more affordable gaming device that costs between $50 to $100 could possibly target a larger audience. And I don't think they would have problems with eating away at the Nintendo Switch or Switch Lite sales because I think there's a high demand for those products, but there's also people that just aren't willing to pay that much but still want to buy a Nintendo product. So this could just gain a larger following of consumers. And then the last thing we said that they could do is continue to create more innovative games. So this month, Nintendo came out with the Mario Kart Live Home Circuit game. And this is a game where you set up your own racetrack in your house with the race cars and you connect your Nintendo Switch to them and watch the game come to life in your own house. And it's been really popular because it is a brand new experience for customers and it's more hands-on. So if Nintendo continues to create these more interactive and innovative games, it could be really beneficial to their sales. I also think parents might be more inclined to buy their children these types of games because it's more than just a video game because it's more hands-on and interactive.
Okay, so now moving on to our final section of recommendations and implementation strategies moving forward. Our largest recommendation to Nintendo is going to be to attempt to capture part of the market share that Xbox and PlayStation currently have. So right now what we're seeing is that Xbox and PlayStation users are not considering switching over to the Nintendo Switch at all, which is kind of problematic for Nintendo. One way we think that Nintendo would have a very good shot at doing this is by using the growing live streaming community. So platforms like Twitch, YouTube, there's many more out there. And using influencers on those platforms, like Ninja, the guy you see in the bottom right of the screen, to just show that the Nintendo Switch is capable of running the games that PlayStation and Xbox users want to play. So we think that'd be a very important aspect of growing market share into gamers that currently use Xbox and PlayStation. And then furthermore, real necessity for the Switch, at least the next generation of it, is to be compatible with live streaming. So right now, the Nintendo Switch doesn't have the capability to send live streams directly to platforms such as Twitch and YouTube. And we think that would be very important to growing the whole brand image of the Nintendo Switch. And moving on, one aspect of the Switch that we think is really great is the things that make them different from PlayStation, Xbox, and other consoles. So starting off with portability, in the first picture on the screen, you can see that you can literally play the Switch anywhere, which is completely different than other gaming consoles. When you think of Xbox and PlayStation, you have to be at home sitting in front of a TV to play. But the Switch, you can literally take anywhere with you at any time. And that makes it completely different than all other platforms, which I think is a big reason of why people buy it. Another reason why people would buy the Switch is the affordability of it. When you think of Xbox and PlayStation new, it's probably $400 to $500. The Switch new is under $200. And especially when it comes to the younger generation that typically plays the Switch, this is very important because when you think about it, your first gaming console that your parents buy you, they're not going to spend $400, $500 on it. They want something more affordable in case, you know, you don't like it. And then another thing that makes the Switch very different than other platforms is their unique lineup of games. So as you can see on the screen, Animal Crossing, they also have all the Mario lines that they offer. And these games are unique to Nintendo. I know Animal Crossing is only offered on the Switch. And that's a huge thing because I had friends that when quarantine broke out and they had nothing to do and wanted a new video game, they went out and bought a Switch just so they could play this new game with a bunch of craze around it. So I think if they're able to create a almost pandemonium or want for people to get these new games, that people would have to buy their consoles if that's the case. Furthermore, keep appealing to younger generations of video game players. As I previously mentioned, the affordability and portability of it. Just make it so easy for younger gamers to play this wherever they want, whenever they want. And then also continuing to offer new innovative ways to play video games. So on the screen, you'll see 2 new innovative ways within the past 2 years that Nintendo is trying to get people to interact with their games more than just on the television. So the first one is Mario Kart Live, which is an option to set up a track in your house and send RC cars around it, and it interacts with the TV in a way that no other video game has really ever done before. And similarly to that, the bottom picture is the Nintendo Labo, which I actually saw one of my friends play last year. What it is it's a kit that comes with cardboard and strings and pulleys, and you set it up in order to be able to interact live in your own home. And then those motions you're making with the cardboard on your back and the levers and pulleys are on your feet and hands, that makes the robot move on the screen. So as far as I know, virtual reality is the only other comparable thing to this, which I'm sure is $300 more than this. So I think if they keep offering these new innovative ways to interact with games, that'll set them apart completely from other suppliers.
And finally, here are our citations. Thank you so much for watching our case study.